Welcome to the Table Talk podcast, where we interview the top business leaders in their respective industries.
Welcome, guys, to the podcast. Here we have a VIP guest here at the Table Talk. He is the owner of Gentle Rain Marketing. His name is Mark. Mark, welcome to the podcast. How you doing today?
Andrew, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So before we got on here, you gave me just a quick overview of what it is that you do. If you could just reiterate that and let our customers know, let our clients know, our viewers, what it is that you do over at Gentle Rain Marketing, and what type of clients do you guys work with?
Thank you. Um, Basically, what I do is I advise companies and individuals who are trying to get more wealthy clients. So, if you're a luxury real estate agent, if you're a consultant, if you're a financial advisor, if you sell anything, products, goods, or services to the wealthy or the affluent, I'm a guy that can help you out. So that's what I do, and I've written books. Here we go, unabashed plug for my book, The Affluent Marketing Blueprint. This is
Amazing.
this has been a #1 bestseller on Amazon for a couple years now. So that's my focus. That's who I help.
Okay, that's amazing. So let us know about your expert superpower. If you have to define your expert superpower, the unique skill set or insight that sets you apart in your industry, what would that be and how has that shaped your success?
Well, it's got to be telling stories. Got to be telling stories.
Storytelling.
Yeah. I mean, you got to be able to, tell stories. And here, the interesting thing, and we have learned this over the years, is that
Right.
people don't remember facts and figures. You can babble all you want about statistics, but people will remember stories. And if you can tell them a compelling story that's interesting, that is memorable, well, you're going to be able to get people to say, hey, this is someone that I should be following. This is someone that I
Yeah.
should be learning more about. So, like in, Andrew, in your case, you're telling stories about people that, went on your podcast, and then people reached out to that guest and said, hey, I really enjoyed your podcast on Andrew's show, and I want to do business with you. And so now
Mm,
Andrew's telling a story about, how his podcast makes people successful. And that's what people remember. Now, whether it reaches, X number of people or Y number of people, no one's going to remember that, but they're going to remember that, that great story that Andrew told about the benefits that come from being on his pod.
definitely. There's a quote that we all love by Maya Angelou. They'll forget what you say, but they'll never forget how you make them feel. And you do that through storytelling. So let me ask you, when you're working with your clients, um, helping them bring out their stories, is that something that you do as well too?
Yeah, absolutely. With my clients, and in all the books that I've written and all the blog posts, it's so much about, how do you create a story that's going to be interesting? How are you going to separate yourself from all the other people that do this? I mean, good Lord, there's over 2 million podcasts out there. So if you're promoting a podcast, how are you going to separate yours? If you're a,
Mhm.
if you cut hair for a living, there's a lot of people that cut hair for a living. How are you going to separate your hair cutting? If you're, if you're a financial advisor, if you own a restaurant, if you're selling real estate, hey, the world is a crowded place. So how do
Right.
you stand out? How do you get attention? And the answer is you got to tell a good story.
Amen to that. Walk me through a customer experience with you. Let's say I'm a real estate agent, and I want to get on board. I want to start to attract a higher caliber of client. What does that look like?
Well, if you want to attract a higher caliber of client, well, first of all, you got to specialize. You got to shout out the fact that you work in the high-end market, and that you specialize in, let's say, homes that sell for above $1 million or whatever the high-end home
Hmm.
is that, in your particular area. And
Hmm.
then what you do if you want to sell your real estate services is you say, look, anybody can put your home up on the MLS. Anybody can figure out what's a comparable price. What I do is I make people interested in your house. And the way I do that is by creating a story about the house, about the neighborhood, about the
Okay.
kinds of people that live here, about the kind of life you can experience if you will buy this particular house. So if you're going to be a luxury real estate agent, you first of all have to specialize in the high end, and you have to be out there saying I specialize in the high end, and then you have to be able to tell a story about the homes that you represent. You have to talk about the types of clients that you work with.
Hmm.
You have to know that neighborhood backwards and forwards because you got to be more than just someone who's hawking houses. You got to be able to talk about the amenities that the neighborhood offers. You got to be able to talk about what the kids can do. You got to be able to talk about the social activities. You got to be able to do all of that stuff because the wealthy and the affluent expect that. They expect the entire package. Anybody can go on Zillow and look up a house that doesn't require any
Hmm.
power. But so the luxury real estate agent, that's how they go out and get that high net worth client.
Okay, I understand that. Um, so, what inspired you to pursue your current path, and how has your vision evolved along the way?
Yeah, I've been doing this for a long time. So, I mean, I'm someone who was always fascinated with why people decided to buy one thing rather than the other.
Mm.
I was always fascinated with the high end part of the market, because look, a watch is a watch is a watch. So why does someone buy a Rolex, when, that, the, $25 watch, does a wonderful job of just keeping time. So why does someone buy the Rolex? Well, it's because of what it says about you. It says that you're a member of a tribe. Well, I thought that was absolutely fascinating, how they, were able to create this whole aura of exclusivity and affluence around something as, fundamentally mundane as a watch. So I got fascinated with that as a little kid, and I, went to school and, got a degree in English literature of all things, and decided that, since I didn't want to go teach, I'd go to work in an advertising agency. So I went to work in an ad agency. Then I,
Okay.
then I went into consumer packaged goods, first with Pepsi and then Kraft Foods.
Oh,
And
sweet.
then I decided that I was going to start my own business, and that was 30 some odd years ago. And again, because I was always fascinated with affluence and elegance and luxury, I said, what I want to do is I can be a marketing consultant and I can specialize in practically anything. So I think I'm going to specialize in the high end, and because I think that's really fascinating. So I planted my flag, if you will, on teaching people how to market to wealthy individuals. And I said, well, okay, how am I going to do that? And because there's a lot of people like me out there.
Hmm.
So I said, well, what can you do? Well, I can tell stories and I can write. So I said, well, I'm going to differentiate myself by being a writer. So I wrote my first book back, gosh, 30 years ago. Uh,
Wow.
been putting out books ever since then. This is my 14th book, and that's how I built the credibility. And so people read the book, the people who see me on social, people listen to my podcast, and then they say, okay, hey, here's somebody that maybe can help me out. And it's a great group of clients. I'm focusing on the kinds of businesses that I find really interesting. So it's been a heck of a fun ride.
You said you wrote 14 plus books. What are the title of some of those other books, and what are they about?
Well, I did a book called The Luxury Agent
Well,
Play.
that sounds amazing. Tell me about that.
which was all about how real estate agents can get more affluent clients. I wrote a book called The Velvet Rope Playbook, which is a series of
I
short
like that.
stories about interesting characters, which all each of them contains a marketing lesson. I did a book called the Gilded Revival because I'm a believer that we're entering into a new gilded age where affluence and prosperity is going to be celebrated again. And the idea
Mhm,
of getting rich and being successful is something that's going to be celebrated rather than
mhm.
down on. So I wrote a book that took a look at the first Gilded Age. What were the lessons from that, and how do those apply to current day? And and the list goes on from there. So yeah, if you go to Amazon, you look up Mark Satterfield. There's a lot of books.
A lot of books. Awesome, awesome. And what's your podcast about? Like you mentioned that you had a podcast.
Yeah, the podcast is the Velvet Rope Playbook. Yeah, I publish a new episode every day. It's currently ranked number 4 in the country in marketing podcasts. The idea was to create very short little stories about a marketing situation that people could listen to while they're driving to work, while they're cleaning up the kitchen, while they're walking the dog, while they're on the treadmill. Something that's short and entertaining, but also educational. And typical podcast runs 6 to 8 minutes. I don't do the interview style podcasts like you do, which
Mhm.
is totally awesome, but requires far more work than I
Right, of
do.
course it does.
Um, so yeah, so people people can download it on a on a daily basis, and it's fun. It's again, it's fun stories that people walk away with going, hey, that was kind of cool, and I learned something that's going to help me grow my business, help me be a little bit more successful.
Okay. So what's your secret sauce? What unique framework, strategy, or principle do you use in your work that you believe others in your industry overlook or underutilize?
Well, I think one of the things that people typically don't do, and I work in the entrepreneurial market. I mean, people that I hang out with, people I work with, they're all entrepreneurs, small business owners. And the biggest mistake people make is they try to serve everybody. They try to just be to try to offer their services out to everyone. And I get why people don't want to niche market because they're they get scared. They say, "Well, my God, suppose if I niche market, then suppose there's someone over here that I'm not speaking to, but they might do business with me." Well, problem winds up being is such a noisy, crowded world. And if we don't niche, if we don't say, hey, this is who I work for, this is who I don't work for, this is what I do, this is what I don't do. If you're not very, very deliberate about that, you don't break through the clutter. And unfortunately, most people play it so safe that if we, kind of map this out as a bell-shaped curve, there's the people that do a good job of carving out a niche for themselves. There are
Yeah.
people that are just kind of like really, really weird, and they're kind of way over there, and we don't want to be that kind of person. But the
Right.
real danger is the people in the middle. They just get stuck. They're just kind of bland,
Right.
and that's I think the biggest problem.
Okay. So I assume like personal branding is big with you. If you're working with a client, do you teach them on personal branding? Like, what does that look like?
Well, branding on a personal level is very different than branding on a corporate level. When I
Okay.
worked
Explain.
at when I worked at Pepsi and Kraft, it's all about logos and color of the box and the brand message and that kind of thing. Branding
Right.
for usins, it's about
Right.
story. It's about who we are. It's about where we came from. It's about who we serve. It's about how we serve. It's about the success stories. So it's much smaller. It has very little to do with your logo. It has very little to do with with the image that you have. Now, I'm not saying that's not important because it is, but quite frankly, nobody's going to hire you, nobody's going to hire me because of my logo. They're going to hire us because they like our message. They're going to hire
Hmm.
us because they think we're smart and know what we're talking about, but they're ultimately going to hire us because they like us and they feel a connection with us. And the only way they're going to do that is if we get out there with interesting content, with interesting stories. So that's really the name of the game.
Okay, great. So, future proofing for success in a rapidly changing world, especially like with AI on the move. Where do you see your industry going in the next like 5 to 10 years? And are you working to stay ahead of the curve?
Well, I mean, AI is going to make life a lot simpler in many ways. I mean, we have the capability to do research about topics at the speed of light. So that is, in effect, we have access to huge databases. We thought Google was great. AI is even better.
Hmm.
So, so we have that knowledge at our fingertips. So, but what that means is that it means the consumer is going to be getting smarter so that you can't just say you can't just use the platitudes. You can't just say the nice sounding stuff that doesn't have any substance behind
Of
it.
course.
There's got to be depth. And back when I started, and up to 5-10 years ago, you could get away with just kind of saying nice sounding stuff that didn't have substance. Can't do that now. Now
Hmm.
the expectation is higher. Um, so what does this mean? How do you stay ahead of it? Well, the way you stay ahead of it is through content. I'm a huge believer in content, but the content needs to have a personality around it because one thing AI can do is AI can research. One thing that AI can't do is AI can't really create a personality, at least not yet. Probably will.
Right. Right.
It will be able to at some point in time, but right now we can't. So it really behooves, people like you, people like me, to say,
Hmm.
okay, what do we stand for? You asked an excellent question in the beginning. What's the superpower? What makes you unique? What makes you stand out? And really figuring that out. That's the mental heavy lifting, and that AI
Hmm.
can't do for you. But then figuring that out and then using AI to really do the research and figure out what are the pain points of my customer base? What are they worried about? What are they fearful about? What are their
Okay.
aspirations? And then you overlay the unique personality of, Andrew and Mark against now this great knowledge that we have about our customers. And now we got a sauce that, is really good,
Mm.
makes us stand out. But, you know, I mean, using AI just to, bang out a bunch of research reports,
Right, of course. I mean, it's good for that reason in terms of like finding your avatar, digging down deep. I don't really believe in using it for like marketing and things of that way because I feel like people still want human connection. And AI, in my opinion, is a lot of regurgitation of like the same type of thing, right? But to use it to bring out your avatar, I feel that is very, very powerful. So I assume you would use it in the same regard.
Yeah, I mean it's good for creating kind of baseline information. It's good
Yeah, of
for
course.
creating the avatar as you say. But people don't hire an avatar at the end of the day. People
Hmm.
still hire people. Now at some point in time, we'll probably be able to do all of this just with an AI bot, but we can't do that now. Uh, so it's that, and the interesting thing, and what I'm starting to notice is that with the preponderance of AI, there is this burning desire to make sure that we are connecting with real humans. So doing things like your podcast, doing things like, writing books, doing things such as, just putting yourself out there in your unique way. Because people are worried that they are just talking to a bot. I mean, I'll give you a quick story. Um, I'm somebody that likes to stay connected with my community, so I get
Uh-huh.
person that sent me a letter, a DM. I think it was on LinkedIn, and they asked a question, and I said, "Okay, cool." I typed in the answer, and the person came back and went, "Is this a bot?"
But
And
it's a legitimate question though.
I
Like
know, but it's a
you just
totally
never
legitimate
know.
question. So I go, no, no, this is really Mark. Person DM me back. That's what a bot would say.
It
So,
really is though.
you're going back and forth. But I mean, it is a real issue, and eventually, got them to believe that I wasn't a bot, and actually, I was sitting here in Pinehurst, North Carolina, actually responding to them. But that's the concern. So the more that we can do as business owners and business advisors to make sure that we're not getting a lot, we're making sure that our people know that, yeah, we may be using AI in terms of helping us augment our business, but at the end of the proverbial day, it's a real person here. And
Mhm.
if we can do that, then, even all
Right.
the skeptics out there, they will, they will believe that we're, real live people.
Definitely. In your experience, what do you see as the biggest problem in your industry currently? And are you doing anything, to get ahead of that or solving for that?
The biggest problem that we have in the marketing world is that I mean it's that people are lazy. Yeah, it's they will read a book that says here's a message you should send out, and they just send out this message to everybody. And right before right before your show, I was just kind of looking at, the messages I was getting on Facebook. And, there was this message I got from someone saying, since you're a leader in the wellness industry, I thought I would reach out to you and see if you wanted to spend 15 minutes talking to me about how I can help you grow your business. And I'm thinking, well, first of all, I'm not in the wellness business.
I got the same message. If I
You
was
got
the
the same
same
thing,
person,
right? Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
like, do your research.
me, and 2 million other people. And then the idea that I don't know you, you don't know me, but yeah, sure, I got nothing better to do than spend 15 minutes talking to someone I don't know. And, and I'm thinking to myself, my God, even if the thing worked, think about who you're going to wind up talking to. You're going to wind up talking to someone who's got nothing else to do in their day but talk to random strangers. I mean,
Right.
is that guy really going to have any money that they can give you? Probably not.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, it's laziness. But that's always been that's always been the issue.
All right. But you carved out your own space though, right? So like you're not amongst the noise of the other people. Like you carved out your space, you have credibility and so I feel like you have set yourself apart from your average marketer per se.
Oh yeah, I mean, I am. If you are someone who is focused on selling stuff to people with money, if you're focused on the affluent market, I'm one of a small handful of people that you need to be following. You don't
Mhm.
necessarily have to buy my stuff, but
Mhm.
there's about 3 or 4 of us, and we're all good. We're all slightly different. We all have a little bit of a different opinion. We certainly all have different personalities.
Mhm.
But, there's a very small group of us, and that's the space that we operate in. Um, but if you're just a general marketing person,
Mhm.
uh, you don't want to, let me put it this way, you don't want to go head to head with me if you're a general marketing person, in my particular area of expertise, because I mean I'll eat your lunch. I mean I know, well, I mean, I've been I mean, I've been doing this for 30 years. This is my niche. This is my backyard. I know this stuff backwards and forwards. I mean, I can
Of course.
outsell you, on the benefits of why I'm the guy if you want to sell to the affluent market. I'm the guy. If you're the generic marketing person, well, bully for you. But,
Right, right.
because quite frankly, the strategies that work for the mass market
Hmm.
work in the affluent market. Sending out the $2 million, or 2 million emails saying, "Hey, Andrew, I know you're a leader in the wellness space," and you know, I mean,
Right, 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 right. Of course, of
now if he
course.
mails out 2 million of those, he's going to get somebody.
Of course. Through the law of averages, of
Yeah,
course, but are they quality?
right. But that's not the business you're in. That's not the business.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not the
Yeah.
business our clients are in.
Let me ask you this. Everyone says LinkedIn is where the money is. Is that where you would send your clients to find higher ticket clients?
Well, LinkedIn is probably the best in terms of networking. If you're going to network to identify individuals that you are wanting to do business with. So if you're in the B2B market, if you're in, if you're selling, high ticket B2C, yeah, LinkedIn is going to have the highest. Is going to have the high end. The downside to LinkedIn is that it's very difficult. You can't do a lot of mass marketing. You can do a little bit of it, but you
Hmm.
can. But it is LinkedIn. People aren't on LinkedIn all that frequently. So
I see, I see.
that's the downside to it. Facebook and Instagram work real well from an advertising standpoint.
Hmm.
And we advertise. My company advertises extensively on Facebook and Instagram, and the ads are always the same. It's get a free copy of this book. This is that's
Like marketing blueprint.
um, but so they're really good for advertising.
Right.
LinkedIn is tough to make the numbers work from an advertising standpoint, just because people
Hmm.
that often. Um, YouTube is a search engine, not really a social channel, so it makes sense to be visible there. But it's mostly going to be the benefit is going to be search. TikTok, I don't play in. My clients don't play in. Don't really know anything about it. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, I understand that. So lesson for aspiring entrepreneurs. What advice would you give to someone aspiring to follow in your footsteps, whether as an entrepreneur, consultant, or industry expert?
I mean, first find something that you're really interested in. I mean, that's
Hmm.
key. As I mentioned, early on, I've always been interested in affluence and wealth and prosperity and the people that, sell products, goods, and services in that space. Um, and so for me, it's an arena that I just find endlessly fascinating. I'm endlessly fascinated about marketing. So that's what keeps me going for 30 some odd years. If you don't really have a lot of curiosity or interest in the topic, then it's tough because at a certain point in time you're just going to get bored with it.
Hmm.
This game is all about it's all about perseverance and sticking with it. I mean, one of the reasons, quite frankly, why I've been as successful as I have been is the fact I've been doing this for a long time. I mean, I started back in the 80s, and
Wow.
I mean, there's not a lot of us that can say that. And so a lot of people drop out. And if you stick with it, and it's going to be, there are going to be peaks and there's going to be valleys. I mean, that's just the reality. But what gets you through the valleys is the fact that, hey, this is just a heck of a lot of fun. It may not be working out from a business standpoint, ideally as I hope, but I'm still having fun with it. And
Exactly.
and if you can say that, then you're gonna, then you're gonna grow your business. I mean, one of my heroes has always been Richard Branson, and
Yeah.
and I just love that guy. And one of the things that I love about him is the fact that he approaches everything with such a sense of enthusiasm.
Hmm.
And I think if you have that level of enthusiasm, then then the odds really tilt in your favor for being successful.
Yes, definitely. Um, what would your final thought be? What would you want the viewers to know about you? Oh, before that, you said your the affluent marketer marketing blueprint. That's a free book. Is that like a funnel thing? Like,
Yeah, here's the deal. Um, you can go to Amazon and get the
okay,
affluent marketing blueprint, and you can pay, I don't know what we're selling it for, 25, 28 bucks.
uh
And please do that because,
okay,
I got a gas bill to pay. Um, or you can go to getwealthyclients.com. And if you go to
okay.
getwealthyclients.com, I will send you a copy of this for free if you will help me out with the shipping and handling. So the book's free.
Oh, simple.
Send me, I think it's like, I don't know, 8, 9 bucks for shipping and handling. And
Hmm.
I'll send you a copy of the book.
Wait.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, this is a legitimate book. It's not just just not a PDF. This has been on the bestsellers for over 2 years. And you don't get on the bestseller list by giving away the books for free.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
all the legitimate stuff. So if you go to getwealthyclients.com, uh,
Uh,
take you to the page to get the copy.
awesome. Do you do any like speaking gigs, speaking engagements?
I do. I do. I do a
Okay.
lot of these because I enjoy them.
I see. I see.
Yeah, they're fun. And then I work with a small handful of clients, and I write
Hmm.
my books and I do my podcast, and I live
Wait,
in
wait.
Pinehurst, North Carolina, so of course I play a lot of golf. So
Awesome, awesome. So we're gonna shake things up a bit. This is what I like to call like the lightning round. I never tell my guests prior to the interview because I kind of want to get the real you. And
okay.
and so this is a series of just fun, quick questions. Coffee or tea?
Uh, tea but iced.
Awesome. Cats or dogs?
Oh, cats.
If you could grab only one weapon during a zombie apocalypse, what would it be?
Flamethrower.
Yes, like of course it has to be at least 20, 30, 30 feet though, but yes. Give me one quote or phrase that you think about often.
I don't want to be the guy sitting on the sidelines waiting for the clock to run down.
I like that one. I gotta remember that one. Favorite movie?
Boy, so many great ones. I am I am going to say the James Bond classic Goldfinger. Because
The
when I was
original.
a kid with my dad for years and years, the tradition was we'd go see James Bond movies together. And I think that was the first one we
Awesome.
saw.
Awesome. Favorite streaming series?
I'm sorry.
Favorite streaming series, TV series?
Ooh, boy, again, so many great ones. So many great ones. Justified.
Fine. Tell me about that. I don't think I heard
Ooh,
about it.
Justified. Timothy Oliphant is a marshal in Miami who he does a justified killing, but they send him to rural Kentucky to fight organized crime, and it is just pitch perfect. It is.
Okay.
I've turned so many people on to Justified, and nobody has ever said, "What in the world are you doing, Mark?"
I'll be the next. Okay. Favorite book?
Favorite book? Ah, boy. I mean, you're talking to an English literature guy, so again, so many of them. Um, there was a book I read back many years ago by James Clavell, and he wrote this Asian trilogy about how the founding of Hong Kong. It was historical novels. The second one in the series was called Taipan. And that was a book that I just absolutely loved. And it just spoke to me for reasons I don't fully understand.
Okay, understand. Um, one bucket list item that you have already accomplished.
Oh, um, I went scuba diving in the Atlanta Aquarium.
What was that like?
Yeah, my wife gave that to me as for a birthday present. That was awesome.
That was awesome. Oh man, that's gonna get on my bucket list. One one bucket list item that you haven't accomplished yet, if you have one. You seem like you lived a full life.
Most of my bucket list right now is travel. And I would, I'd like to go to the Emirates and go to Dubai. I'm kind of fascinated with that part of the country,
Yeah.
so I'd like to do that. Bucket list that I have not done but will be doing shortly is I've always wanted to go to Monte Carlo, and we're going to go to Monte Carlo in June. So.
Okay. Last one, biggest obstacle you ever had to overcome and one lesson you learned from it.
Biggest obstacle overcome, I think deciding to, leave the comfort of a corporate environment and,
Okay.
and go out on my own. Um, and I think the biggest obstacle was I kind of I suffered from a little bit of arrogance. I kind of thought I knew everything when in fact I didn't, and I got humbled pretty quickly. But the real lesson was that even if you have a business which is just basically yourself, we don't do this by ourselves. Our success is going to be dependent upon the people that you interact with, the friendships you make, the colleagues that you bring into your circle, and that was a lesson that fortunately I learned pretty early on, and it's one has stayed with me to this day.
Amen to that. So, so Mark, if any of our viewers would like to connect, collaborate, even work with you, where should they get in touch? Is it time to put out your socials, your website again?
Yeah, I mean, the best way is you can go to, if you go to getwealthyclients.com, and even if you don't buy the book, you'll put your name in and you put your email in, and you'll be on my list and you'll be connected and you'll get notices from me literally every single day, which will enable you to, learn about what I do. If you want to find out more specifically about me, you go to aboutmarksatterfield.com, and that takes you to a page which has, everything you could possibly want and a really cool video that a guy did for me. So
Wait.
if you go to aboutmarksatterfield.com, that will take you there. And then
Awesome, Mark.
all the
Listen,
social stuff is there as well.
awesome. Listen, it's been a pleasure. I've learned so much. I feel like I've grown an inch. Listen, it's been definitely a pleasure. We're going to send this out. We're sure people are going to love it. It's been a pleasure today.
Well, Andrew, thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm